We're talking about how to condition your reptile boots. So let's get into it. We're talking reptile boots today and conditioning them. And I wanted to feature a bunch of stuff that is carried by yeehawcowboy.com because Jose's a good dude and he's got a bunch of really cool boots. And my favorite boot from last year being the Yeehaw Cowboy Caiman Snip Toe. I got married in these boots. Reptile skins look badass, okay? But a lot of times they can be fragile in certain areas, so conditioning them is really important. A lot of people will use Bic 4, which works, it works, but I prefer this Scout stuff. I've been using Scout on my Boulay Caiman belly boots for years and years and years, and I just love how it makes them look and it keeps them clean and conditioned. The thing that I like most about Scout leather conditioner for the exotics is that it gives them a nice luster, much more so than what the Bic 4 does. To start out with, let's just talk about what to do before you condition them and the importance of conditioning the reptile skins. So I already conditioned these Stetson JBS lizard boots. I did this fairly recently because I wore them a couple times this winter because it hasn't really been that bad of a winter. So I won't be conditioning these ones today, but I want to use it as an example because the importance of conditioning your reptile skin leathers really comes down to where the scales meet. So as you can see here, if it will focus, where these scales meet is where the skin is the most fragile. If you're gonna get a crack, if you're gonna get a rip, it's gonna happen there. Caiman is the same way. The areas where the thick leather scales, they meet, and it really allows the boot to bend there, but the leather is thinner there, which is why you have to make sure that it's conditioned, because if it's not and it cracks there, you're done. You're done, and that crack will just follow that line until this whole like toe box just comes off. Somebody shared a picture on the Facebook boot group the other day of just a Caiman belly boot just ripped to shreds. So it's really important to make sure that you keep your reptile boots conditioned. Python and snakeskin is a little bit different. This is an Alcalis booty. This is my wife's booty. And I would say that even though this is a little bit more fragile, you need to condition this, and you can use the conditioner, the Scout, but don't buff this because you need to be going with the scales when you have snakeskin. You don't want these scales to curl up and potentially fall off, because then that creates for, the boot doesn't look good. You want to keep these boots looking good, and your Python scales or your rattlesnake scales, you want to keep them looking good. So keep them conditioned too, but I would say don't buff them. Before you take your conditioner to your boot, you're going to want to just get the dust off. So a lot of times I will just take a rag and just sort of get the dust off a little bit here. You can also use a brush if you wanted to brush it off. You can get in the welt of the boot with a toothbrush or a fingernail brush. I like this fingernail brush. This is just what I have. So you just get in there, you get the dust off, you sort of rub it down a little bit, and then you just take your Scout leather conditioner. And I like this too because it's a spray application, so you can you just spray it on there, right? You make sure it's well covered here. So we're just spraying this all over. Some people will absolutely saturate their boots and go through a quarter of a bottle or something like that. I don't think you really need that much. Just make sure you get it in there and it's well covered. And then what I'll do is, before I take the rag to it, is you kind of want to work at least this is what I do. I know everybody has their own ways of conditioning their boots. The main fact is that you're conditioning it to begin with. This is just what I do, and it's ever changing too. This is just what I do. So you're just gonna want to take this conditioner and make sure that it gets into the creases where the thick scales meet, where the leather will move the most, and also the leather is the thinnest. So on this Caiman tail boot, you just got to make sure that you get that conditioner in there. So just work it along each one of those points where the scales meet, right? So you just sort of work it in there with your hand. It's not going to kill you. It's leather conditioner. It's probably good for your hands too. I don't know. It won't kill you. You'll be fine. So just sort of work it in there, right? And then what I like to do is spread it around a little bit, then let it sit. You let it sit, and then you do the other one. So I didn't brush this one off. So you're gonna go through and make sure there's no like heavy amounts of dust on it or anything crazy like that, and then you're just gonna spray it down. Like I said, a lot of people will just like absolutely saturate their boots. I've never saturated it. I've never felt the need to. So like just enough to sort of cover it liberally. Liberally cover your boot with the conditioner. Again, we're going to sort of make sure we get into those creases where the scales meet. Boom, 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 boom. You guys can see this okay, I hope. Just work it in a little bit with your hand. And the reason why I'm using my hand instead of a rag is because the rag is going to soak up some of the conditioner, and I really don't want the conditioner to be soaked up by the rag. I want it to soak into the leather itself. So we're working it in here. We're working it in. And then we're going to let it sit. So by this time, it's probably sat for long enough. It is still a little bit wet with some droplets of conditioner, but it had enough time to sort of sit there and soak into the leather. So now is the time that I just sort of buff it out. And this is the reason why I like the Scout leather conditioner more so than the Bic for exotics, is because when you buff it out, it just makes a nice shine. And that's the thing with Caiman and Lizard that you got to remember, is that you don't want to use waxes. You don't want to use a lot of these products that we use on some of the other leathers, some cowhides and ostrich and things like that. Even though this is good for ostrich, you can use this for ostrich too. These reptile skins have a natural luster to them that looks really good, in my opinion. And waxing and using different types of creams and things just sort of messes up that luster. So if you can do anything to sort of increase the luster that it already has naturally as a reptile skin, a lizard skin, the snake skin, if you can do that and just bring it up to that next level, that's what I like. It's got a nice natural look, and that's what I've always done with my Caiman bellies, is I've never put wax on them at all, and they look great. A little bit of this, and they shine up nice, they look great, and it kind of looks like you put some wax on them or something, or some cream, but it's just the natural luster. I probably should have done it before and after, but it keeps it healthy, keeps it looking great. So, as you can see, there is that natural luster there as the light shines off of the boot, and it just looks spectacular. Like, look at how glossy that is. And that's just a Scout. It's just a Scout. I should have done that other boot last, but it's got to sit for a little bit, and then what am I going to do while it's going? I don't know. Like, I could just sit here and stare at you guys. So that is a Scout leather conditioner. And as you can see here, it says Reptile Exotic Leather Conditioner, Cleaner and Conditioner. So it also says on the bottom that it can be used on print exotics, which is just regular cowhide gone through a printing machine or however they print it. So that pretty much means that this can be used on any leather, really, except for like suedes or distresseds. But mainly, I just use it for exotics, specifically for reptiles. Sometimes I'll use it on my ostrich, and I like the way that it shines and buffs out on an ostrich too. But pretty much, it's all about the reptiles for this. And when you're doing it on a python or a snakeskin booty, don't buff it. Just put it in and sort of work it in with the scales. So always go down with the scales. Never go up, because you're gonna curl those scales there. This is a nice booty. Okay, so Alvin asks, Jeremiah, how often do you have to condition Caiman boots? Depends on how much I wear them. Like, before I put them away, if I know that I'm going to be I put these away for the winter time, because I didn't want to wear them up here in the Northeast during the winter. So I condition them before I put them away, and then I put them up on the top shelf of my closet. And that was a few months ago. But if you're wearing them regularly, I would wear my Caiman belly boots every so often. And then once I saw that they were getting a little bit dull and lifeless, that's when I would treat them with the Reptile Exotic Cleaner and Conditioner. So it really depends. If you're not wearing them, condition them, put them away, and then wait a few months and then maybe do it again. But it's not like you gotta do it every week or anything. Keep your boots from getting cracked. Give them what they lack. Condition and buff for a nice shine. Keep them healthy and looking great. A nice pair of boots is a good trade, and you will keep them for all time. What do you guys think about conditioning your reptile boots? Good old Jack of Spades, you know it.